going to really, Jerry, you never lose the worry completely. I think it's very difficult to lose that worry completely for your children, but that day-to-day waiting up late at night, making sure everybody's home safe in the house, that's all gone. And you have your home back. There's a lot more silence in the home. There's a lot less worry in the home. And then you, maybe if you're married and your spouse and you look at each other, and where is the relationship? That's also the important part of this topic is, how does it affect your relationship? They say that if you have a good foundational marital relationship and then the kids leave the home, it just continues on. But there are some people that after their children go, they look at their spouse and they say, wow, now what? Now what do we do?
Who are you?
Yeah, who are you? Seriously, though, but it's a really serious thing that happens. And so we want to talk about life in the empty nest and how is it working for you? What are the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, the ugly? We want to hear about it. We want to talk about it because it helps us grow closer to God. It helps us be better Christians. And that's what this show is all about. It's just a way to leave this 1 hour a little bit changed for the better. So you got to help us, because Jerry and I can talk about this for an hour, but you don't want to hear from us. We want to hear from you. 1-800-585-9396. 1-800-585-9396.
Well, as always, something you share on the show could really have an impact on somebody. There could be a husband or a wife or a couple going through a really tough time now. Their last child has left the house, and they feel a little bit aimless right now. And maybe you've been through several years of that, and perhaps you want to share your experience of making that adjustment. That could really help somebody out. Or you've got someone who is maybe their kids are a few years away from being the last one out of the house, and maybe you discovered or heard or found out about some things that you could do to kind of get ready for that emotionally and psychologically and so forth. Maybe you're just loving the fact that your kids are raised. You did your job, and now your kids are great adults, and they're having their own families, and they get to bring the grandkids over, and life is just ideal for you. So let us hear from you with your perspective. 1-800-585-9396.
I crack up, Jerry, at the conversations that I have with my friends. I had 2 children, but some of my friends had 5 and 6 kids, and they've raised their families in pretty tight quarters, tight homes where children shared bedrooms and stuff like that. And I remember one time my girlfriend, when her last one was getting ready to leave for college, she confided in me. It was cute. I won't mention her name because she's probably listening. But she said, I can't wait till she leaves for college. And I said, really? Why? She goes, I've always wanted to turn her bedroom into my art studio and a sewing room. And she said, I can't wait till she leaves because there's no room in the house and I work in the garage and I can't stand it and I can't wait till she goes. And sure enough, she did. And when her daughter came home for the first break for college, she says, Mom, I can't believe you did that to my room. And she goes, honey, I've been waiting for this for a long time. But it's kind of funny because there are those sacrifices we make as parents to raise the children. And then when the children do leave the home, it is time for us to continue our mission in life. In addition to raising families, it's our mission out there in the world of spreading our God-given gifts and talents. And so I think there is merit to that, to really look into that. So we want to hear from you. Calls are starting to come in. That's a good sign. That means you want to talk and we want to listen. 1-800-585-9396. That's the number to get onto the show. We got a lot of first-time callers. You're going to love being the first-time experience because you're going to talk to Matt Gabinski. He's awesome. He's our call screener. I would just call just to talk to Matt. That's how awesome he is.
In fact, Debbie calls Matt during the breaks and just to say hi.
Hi, Matt.
How you doing, Matt? How's it going up there screening calls?
There you go. Right. But the cool thing about it, though, Jerry, is that you get to listen live while you're waiting to get on the air. So you don't miss anything. You won't say, oh, this was already been said or it's been repeated, because you're going to be listening. So you could just continue on with the conversation. I think that's really cool. So jump in, 1-800-585-9396.
All right. We'll have Rich roll the break here for us. And as he does that, we will step aside for just a moment. We got a lot of calls on there, but there is a line open for you right now, 800-585-9396. Whether it's brand new to you, having an empty nest, just you yourself, maybe you and your spouse alone, the kids are gone, Or maybe you've been at that for 10, 20, 30 years, the empty nest. Share your experience. Could really turn someone's life around today.
It's the start of a new day for Morning Catholic Radio.
We are victim of crime in the sense that we're affected by other things that have happened in our life, our own choices. You want to accompany these people and help them to heal. Well, God wants to heal us through holiness, but then we think, oh, holiness is like the tax code. I can't become holy because it's 74,000 pages. And
I was wondering how you were going to tie that in.
Morning Glory, Catholic from the start. Weekday mornings, 7 Eastern on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
For a complete list of the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network AM and FM stations across America, go to EWTN.com. Look for the radio pull-down menu and select AM/FM stations. The list is updated regularly, so visit often. Again, go to EWTN.com. Look for the radio pull-down menu and select AM/FM stations. Also at EWTN.com, you'll find out how to listen to us on the web, on shortwave, and in some countries on satellite. You'll find it all on EWTN.com.
We're so glad you joined us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network, and we're excited that you are part of this conversation. That's what Take Two is all about, taking a fresh look, a new angle on every conversation, every topic we introduce. And you do a great job at it. That's why we just absolutely love being part of the show. See, we're part of it because you are the main part. 1-800-585-9396. We're talking about living in an empty nest. Your kids are grown. They're out of the house. How do you handle it? Are you and your spouse doing okay with it? Maybe you're rejoicing. Maybe you popped open the bubbly and said, we did it. We did it. The last one's out of the house. They made it out safely and they're into the world. Or maybe, you're struggling with it. So we want to hear from you. So we're going to go right to David in Moorhead, Minnesota, listening to EWTN Radio on Real Presence Radio. Hi, David. You are first up. Start the conversation off.
Hi.
Hi, David.
Hey, David.
First off, our situation is, yes, empty nesters. But before we get to the empty nesters, picture this, and I'd like to know if the other callers have comments and thoughts of this happening to them and their families. We had our youngest son that actually left out of the house and said that they wanted to move in with another individual. My wife suggested that no, that probably would not be the best thing for him at his point in his life. And of course, the son would do what they want to do, so he left. The oldest son saw all the pain and suffering that that the youngest son brought through the parents. He said, "Mom and Dad, I'd never ever do anything like that." And sure as the world, actually fell in love with another individual, and both our sons left our family for other established families with divorced women and already an established family on their side. And shortly thereafter, or in the same breath, they also left the Catholic Church. Well, it's one thing for a mom to raise her children, be their number one supporter, be there for every breath, every moment of their lives, and for them to not have anything in association with mom, birthdays, holidays, and a very, very painful Mother's Day yesterday. So they have not only left the family, they have left actually the Catholic faith. So being St. Monica, my wife is continuing to pray, and it's very, very painful to pray for over 13 years for one.
Wow.
And over 3 years for another, and hope that sometime somebody will reach out to them, or the Holy Spirit reaches out to them and says, you know what, this is all wrong for what you've done, and you really need to come back to the faith. You need to come back to your parents. And literally, my wife looks at this as saying, we have not one but two deaths in the family, and our sons are still alive.
Right.
But they are
right.
no longer part of our life. They are no longer part of the Catholic family.
Right.
So for those people that have a serious loss of their children, they do have fond memories. We have some memories, but right now the memories are overshadowed because of what our sons have done to leave our family, which again, my wife was a stay-at-home career mom, professional mom to our two sons, and it's extremely
Painful. Painful.
and very
David,
painful.
David, let me
Yep.
just share something with you, just from very personal experience. And if you can, could you also email me? I want to send your wife something very personal at take2, the number 2 at EWTN.com. If you could do that, David, I'd really appreciate it. Please let your wife know she's not alone. You're actually talking to somebody right now that is living through that almost exactly the same experience that you and your wife are living through. So I can relate at a very deep and personal level. I can understand how deeply the pain is on a daily basis. I can also understand the attachment that you both have to St. Monica, because I have that same attachment. The one thing that I will impart to you, and I can do this also on the email if you can do that, David, is first of all, you guys are not alone. This story, unfortunately, is becoming more and more common. And when the kids get off that path and they get further and further away from that road, it's much harder right now to look at this world and say, how can we bring them back? But I can tell you this, that your prayer, it sounds like you and your wife are very strongly rooted in prayer, and that is the number one advice I could give, is to keep those prayers going. Please let know that there are a lot of resources out there now. Unfortunately, I should say unfortunately, because it's a shame that we even have to discuss this stuff like this, but there's a lot of resources out there to help us go through the emotional pain. And I just want to say my heart goes out to you and your wife. And please know that it's an unfortunate circumstance that's happening more and more in this world. And the sooner people speak up and do stuff about it, that's the only way we can change it. The problem is a lot of people sit quietly I don't mean you and your wife, but other people, and they let things happen, and the kids get further and further off the road. They can't, when they look back, they don't even know what they're seeing, because they're so clouded. And it's very unfortunate, David. So my heart goes out to you and your wife. Jerry?
David, I was just going to ask, we all know that so many times kids won't listen to family members, especially parents, in matters like this. I was wondering, do your two sons have other siblings, David?
No, we have a very small family, and being that we were such a smaller, we were so tightly associated with our sons,
right.
And it's just completely ripped my wife's heart out, as well as my own, for, call it the love of their lives, they've actually discarded us, and now we have the in-laws are now their parents, and we have been completely erased. We have been completely replaced.
Right.
And as far as holidays or any special dates, those are a thing of the past. The wives are completely controlling everything, and the wives like the way it is. We suggested a lot of things from the get-go just to work things out so that we would have a better understanding. But no, the gals said, nope, this is the way it's going to be. And when we suggested something that the two of them had agreed on, then all of a sudden there was a fork in the road, and everything was like 180 degrees, completely different than what we had. Okay, listen, we'll go this way, and you can go that way, and we'll meet you at another crossroads. But the women just, and from what I've heard, what I've experienced is because the women were divorced for a number of years, they were take-charge individuals. And that's exactly what they did with our sons. They took charge and took pretty much complete ownership, and they call all the shots, and our sons are pretty much tied to their hips, and whatever they say, they will do as far as following what their new wife is telling them.
David, yeah, the reason I asked, I'm sure you know why. As Debbie said, prayer for you and your wife, that is, it sounds like not only the most important thing you can do, but maybe the only thing you can do right now. But if there were siblings, or maybe your sons have friends that they grew up and were close to and shared the faith, and so those seeds have been planted. And you made the comment, you said you hope that someone comes along, someone comes into their life, or someone looks for that. That's already being done. Jesus is already on the case. You can rest assured of that. It can sound like hollow words sometimes, but Jesus will put the right people in their paths, and we'll join you. We'll join you in praying for your two sons and for the entire Take Two with Jerry and Debbie family. But Deb, it's a tough situation that they're in there, but prayer will change things.
Absolutely. Thank you, David, for your call. And please don't forget to email me, take2, the number 2, at EWTN.com. And our prayers are with you. Our hearts are with you. And please know that. So thank you for your call. That's a hard call, Jerry. And I'll tell you, David's story is chilling, because it's happening more and more, where families are being ripped apart by outsiders that feel that they can manipulate and maneuver situations. I also think we need to pray for those girls, those wives of David's and his wife's sons, because I wouldn't want to. That's a heavy burden to be carrying. I mean, to know that they are instrumental in tearing apart a family and really destroying a mom and dad's hearts. That's a heavy burden to carry, I would think. Don't you think, Jerry?
Yeah, we can certainly absolutely keep them in prayer as well. And in the meantime, we move along here. What's life like in an empty nest for you? Alice in Metairie, Louisiana, listening to EWTN Radio on the EWTN app. Hello, Alice. Welcome to the Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
Hi, Debbie and Jerry. How you doing? It's Alice.
Hi, Alice.
I have my heart goes out to David. It really does, because I have a completely different situation. I have 3 boys. My husband died 2 days after Katrina. We were evacuated. So I've been pretty much on my own for almost 11 years now. And I've been so blessed to have my sons. I really am. I get frustrated and everything with them. But we got together yesterday, and everybody went to Mass. We all went to Mass together, and there was 16 of us, 15 plus me, is 16 of us at Mass. So we were a handful at Mass, but I have 10 grandchildren and one on the way. So it's like, I get on their nerves sometimes, and I realize that, and I push them and everything. But I am truly blessed to have them, and it's hard sometimes to have sons and no daughters, but it's just being there. They want me to move out by them, and I told them, no, I'm happy where I am. And they say it's too far. It's 15 minutes away, and they say it's too far. Mm-hmm. So, I keep holding my gun, saying no. I'm staying where I am for the time being. But I hope everything.
Alice, it's beautiful. It's beautiful that they want you closer, though. I think, like you said, you've got a tremendous blessing there with the 3 sons, and I'm sure their wives and all of the grandkids. 16 of you at Mass, Debbie. That must have been a beautiful sight. All of them walking in and celebrating Mass together. And
Alice is blessed.
And Alice, our condolences, of course, on the loss of your husband. But post that loss, God has certainly brought many, many blessings your way.
Yeah, and it's Alice, you have such a joy-filled spirit. We love hearing from you, and you're just amazing. And you have the grandkids all around you. You said one on the way, that your boys want you to be near them. You're such, that's what it's all about. But yet you keep your own independence, which I think is really great. And I love that about you, and I think that's awesome. And it sounds like you have a great balance. And
I want to say something real funny. I'll let you all go. But you know how you sent me the rosary in January? Mm-hmm. Well, my dog got in my purse, unzipped the case it was in, and I had to bring it to the nuns at St. Paul's to have them put it back together again.
Oh, no.
She didn't eat any of it, but she broke it. She chewed it apart.
Is that the dog that we're hearing from right now?
I don't believe you have a dog, Alice. I don't. I'm not buying it.
Oh, and she's wanting to be heard too. You should. Yeah. There you go. Oh, bless your heart, Alice. Well, I'm glad you got it fixed. That's awesome.
So is the rosary still working, Alice? It's still okay? It's still okay?
I don't know. Sister Alice is putting it together for me at St. Paul's. I'll let you know the next time you have something that I'll call in for.
Yeah, please do, Alice. Let us know if you need another rosary. We'll be happy to send one out to you. And God bless your heart, Alice. Thanks for helping to make this another great episode of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And those of you on the line, we are going to get to each and every one of you. It's that immovable break, that dreaded immovable hard break coming up here, Debbie, in just a few seconds. But we've got a ton of great takes that we're going to hear on the other side of the break.
I can't wait. Oh, the break's not started yet, right? Can I say one more thing? I don't hear the music, so I could keep talking until I hear the music.
You've got 32 seconds.
Oh, good. I just want to go back real quickly. Dear listeners, we believe in the power of prayer. You guys are awesome. Take Two listeners and supporters are awesome. Please keep David and his wife in your prayers. Emotional pain of having that, feel that brokenness when your children are really ripped away from you and you feel like it's just eating at your heart. Really, we need to surround them with prayers. So please, dear listeners, surround David and his wife with prayers to be uplifted and have a sense of hope. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Doug Keck, host of EWTN's Bookmark. I wanted to mention a new book that I wanted you to check out in time for the Jubilee of Mercy. It's A Holy Year in Rome, the complete Pilgrim's Guide for the Jubilee of Mercy by our one and only Rome correspondent, Joan Lewis of Joan's Rome. And in this book, Joan takes you back in time for a look at the history of Jubilees and then brings you up to the present with a visit to the 7 pilgrim basilicas of Rome, 4 of which must be visited by pilgrims to obtain a Holy Year indulgence. You'll discover the treasures of Rome and the Vatican, and you'll learn all about the many interesting facts, such as the difference between a church, a basilica, the significance of the holy doors, architecture, liturgical customs, and much, much more, as only Joan can bring them to life. Available through the EWTN Religious Catalog, EWTNRC.com. It's A Holy Year in Rome, the complete Pilgrim's Guide for the Jubilee of Mercy by the one and only Joan Lewis. Check it out.
I'm Raymond Arroyo with Mother Angelica, A Remarkable Life. Throughout her life, Mother Angelica stressed her belief in redemptive suffering, that one could offer your suffering to God for the good of others. She learned that belief right here in the home of Rhoda Wise in Canton, Ohio. Now, Rita Rizzo, Mother Angelica, met Rhoda Wise when she was a girl, and she watched this mystic and great sufferer. Ms. Wise suffered the stigmata of Christ on the first Friday of every month, and hundreds of people would come here to be prayed over by her. There were many, many healings, and Rita began to appreciate the importance of suffering in one's life, and that it isn't always a bad thing. Stay with EWTN as we celebrate the life and legacy of Mother Angelica.
Thank you for being with us here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How is life in an empty nest? Have you raised your kids and now they're out of the house? Hopefully you get to see them, interact with them, have good relationships with them. But how has that changed the dynamics within your home? Kind of reminiscent of when you first were married and there were no kids until the first one came and then the other one. So we want to hear your thoughts on this, and we're going to go to Pam next in North Dakota, listening to EWTN Radio on Real Presence Radio. Hi, Pam. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Thank you, and I just want to say thanks for the wonderful program that you guys put on in St. Louis, Missouri. My husband and I drove 900 miles to be a part of it.
Oh, bless your hearts, Pam. Thank you.
Yes, it was wonderful, and I will keep David in my prayers as well. I have my husband and I have 5 children. We have 4 daughters and a son, and our son was the baby of the family, and when he was coming up on his senior year of high school, I decided that, my life was going to change. My husband's not so much because he's busy with farming, and I was an at-home mom, and so my life was going to change differently than his was because he was still going to be busy, and I thought, you know what, I need to start something to maybe fill the time that I was going to have on my hands and not be so dependent on him to fill that void for me, because that would be a tough role for him to fill. So what I did is I joined a group of 8 ladies, 9 counting myself, and I call it the COOP. And the COOP stands for Caring and Offering Others a Path. And what I decided to do was to invite different generations in age to this group that we get together once a month. We try to anyway. Sometimes we have to miss because of busy schedules. And the younger gals get to see how us older gals that are coming up on the empty nest, and some that already have been a part of the empty nest, to see how we're going through it, to know that there are life after children when they leave home. And it's been awesome.
That is beautiful.
That is fan. Yeah, go ahead, Deb.
Yeah. Were you able to start that at your church, or is that something you just started in your home,
I
Pam?
just started it in my home, and I told them, from day one, they didn't really know what the meeting was all about that I had invited them to. I just told them it was a surprise. And once they got here, I had appetizers and some wine, and we just sat down and visited, and I talked about why I was starting this little group and why I was calling it what I did, and why I had the younger ones mixed in with some of us that were just starting to go through the empty nest versus alongside some of them that had already gone through the empty nest. And they were all for it, and we've been getting together ever since. We'll be celebrating our 3rd anniversary of it in June of this year.
That is brilliant.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We really enjoyed getting to know each other and growing with each other. It's been awesome.
Right, and you're helping each other. And that's what it's all about: walking together and really journeying through life together. I think that is beautiful, and it's so creative. If I may, I ask: are all the women are they Christian, so that you can talk religion too, or no, or is it totally?
We talk some religion, and we talk. Mm-hmm. Most of what we talk about is is there anything that anybody needs prayer for in their family? Or is anybody struggling with anything, such as what David is going through with his wife? If his wife was a part of my group, she would be very safe talking about that, because one of the rules is what happens in the coop stays in the coop. Nobody poops outside the coop. What happens there stays there. There's no gossip outside of the group, and we're all there to support each other, love each other through. Yeah. We've had one of the gals in our group lost her son to a choking incident just a little over a year ago, and so we helped her with that. We all got together and bought her a plant and went. Took that to her and supported her there at the funeral. And some of us have lost a parent, throughout this group getting together. Just a lot of support, a lot of love, and a lot of fun besides.
Pam, what you're inspiring me to think about is, as Catholic Christians in particular, sometimes we don't see this so much maybe in non-Catholic churches, but in the Catholic Church, we think if Father needs to kind of start an initiative, or the church, the hierarchy, we kind of look to the Pope, the bishops, the priests, the deacons, the sisters, and rightly so, for authoritative things and so forth. But when it comes to evangelization, to walking beside our brothers and sisters in Christ, that's the job of all of us. And I'm just very, very inspired that you took the prompting of the Lord and you are doing this. It reminds me I heard of a group called POPS, P-O-P-S. It was Parents of Priests and Seminarians, because a lot of parents don't know what to do when their son says, I want to be a priest. They go, okay, that's nice. Now what do we do? So it's the same thing what you've done here, Pam, is you have taken an issue that the church may not be officially addressing because it's not in the business of covering every single possible dynamic of human life, and you found a need and you are doing something about it. So I just think that's terrific. Anything else, Pam, you wanted to impart to our listeners?
Not other than just go with what you're hearing in your mind and move forward with that. If it's something that feels good and feels positive, don't be afraid to start it. Take that first step and just send those notes out or make those phone calls. And don't depend on your husband or your wife to fill the void of what you maybe were feeling with the kids, that you were taking care of. You need to do things for yourself as well, and the rest will follow. You will have inspiring things to talk about then with your spouse, so that things aren't left to be, up to the other person or feeling dry and boring or whatever. It's all up to you. Make that first step and take that first step.
wise words, Pam. Thank you so much for that take on it. I wish I lived in North Dakota so I can join the coop.
I'd love to have you a part of our coop, but you know what? Maybe you'll have to come as a guest sometime. That'd be awesome.
Okay, you do take guests. Okay, as long as okay, good. So we have that on radio now, Pam, so we can always revert back to that. So you do take guests.
At next year's One Faith Experience.
Oh,
Sounds
God bless
great,
you, Pam. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
From your lips to God's ears. Thank you. And Debbie, maybe you can start a cyber coop.
A cyber coop, yeah, that's interesting.
An
You mean like
online coop or
Skyping?
something.
Is that like Skyping? Yeah. Oh yeah, you could, but you lose. Don't you kind of lose a little bit of? I mean, it's nice to be in a room like Pam said. She has appetizers, she has wine. It's so relaxing.
You can hug everybody.
Right. It's really It's kind of I like that connection. Skype sometimes it gets lost in just that feeling. I don't know. You just feel trapped. You feel like you have a camera on you the whole time, which you do. So it's not as,
That's right.
It's not as easy.
Well,
Okay,
Go ahead, Deb.
I was just going to say that was just brilliant. I mean, if we ended the show right now, that would just be perfect because it like you said, Jerry, it inspires us to do things, to move forward and to walk with our brothers and sisters in Christ, just like Pam did. And I think that is so important. That's what I was trying to say, which maybe I didn't do it so well because I was emotional with David and his wife. We need to support each other and hold each other up and give each other a safe place to just express our pain, our suffering, our joys, everything, so that we're here for each other. We're the body of Christ, and Pam's doing that so well in North Dakota. I love it. Okay, here's the number to dial if you want to get in on this great conversation about living in an empty nest. 1-800-585-9396.
Okay, fortunately, we are not ending the show yet. We've got Charlene. We'll go to Charlene right after we go to Virginia in Peoria, Illinois. Listening to EWTN radio this still morning in Peoria. Hi, Virginia. Welcome.
Thank you. This is Virginia, and I'm going to change the scope a little bit. I'm a handicapped single woman, but I'm going to tell you about my family. I have two siblings, and I did the opposite. Because of my disability, I was afraid to move out, so I stayed with my mother. And I felt I didn't live with her. I just never left home. And because of that, I felt guilty about it. But what happened was the way things worked out, my father had died earlier, and so it was just my mother and I, and I depended on her a lot, and I didn't feel there was life after her. But at the end of her life, she had Alzheimer's. She got Alzheimer's, and our Lord gave me an answer in that we were able to reverse roles, and I was able to take care of her for the first time instead of she taking care of me, and that helped me in making it worth it. Being I was with her for like 54 years because I'm a woman of my 70s now, and I just feel that our Lord made it worthwhile.
Right. So did your mom passed, Virginia?
Yes, she did. She died in 2004.
Okay. And I'm sorry for your mom and dad's loss, but it sounds like what was beautiful about your story is exactly what you just said. You were dependent upon your mom. You stayed in the home, and then see how you took an Alzheimer's situation and you made it a very positive situation in yours and your mom's relationship because the roles were reversed. You became the caretaker. Now your mom was dependent on you. And so it really, if for lack of a better word, it kind of played out nicely in your lives, and it came full circle. So Virginia, I think that is beautiful that you were there for your mom, she was there for you, and then you were there for your mom. And I think that's really what we're all called to do, in a sense, which we're really, when you think about it, we're designed to really be we're communal people. We're designed to be together and to help each other and to walk with one another, not to just go and leave the house and never look back. And I think you really did a great thing being her daughter and taking care of her, Virginia. And it sounds like it brought you great peace. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, it did. It fulfilled the. I felt it was not. I felt not normal. In that I was the oldest, and I didn't leave at 20 years old, like all the other normal children do, and I didn't know the reason until later, and but it all turned out very well.
Yeah, all part of God's plan. You see how everybody was in the right position at the right time, and you were there to take care of your mom. I think that
one other thing. Because of my disability, I had to go to public school, and I didn't get the classes, the religion classes that I wanted. And so the way it happened, I wasn't able to graduate from high school, but I didn't have my senior year. But right now, because of EWTN and Mother Angelica and the situation I have now, I have my own apartment. I've had it for a long time. And our Lord said, you don't have a senior year, you're going to have senior years.
Oh,
and
nice.
I'm learning all that I wanted to learn through EWTN.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting my education now, and I wanted it then, but I'm getting it better on TV and radio and everything, better than I ever would have gotten it in a classroom.
Virginia, I've heard EWTN, Catholic Radio and TV described as the University of Catholic Radio before. And it's very true. And it's free, thanks be to God. We need to support EWTN and the stations that carry it. But the EWTN provides the programming to stations for free. And you get professors like the folks at Catholic Answers, like Teresa Tomeo, like Janet Benkovic, like Jim and Joy Pinto, like Dr. David Anders, Scott Hahn. You get it's a faculty that cannot be beat. So, Virginia, you make a great point there. And on that note, we'll let you go and hope you have a wonderful, just a fantastically blessed day. And we are going to move on here in a minute. Debbie, did you?
Yeah, I was just speaking about Virginia's education. She was talking about on EWTN radio and television. I mean, you look at the lineup that's coming up this whole afternoon. You got Call to Communion with Dr. David Anders. You got EWTN Open Line. John Martinoni takes your calls on apologetics. I mean, learning about how to defend your faith. How awesome is that? Trent Horn is on Catholic Answers today. Why are you an atheist? I mean, this is an education that you really just can't get. You'd have to pay a lot of money to go to universities to get this kind of education that is fed to all of us through radio and television. Thanks be to God, to EWTN and Mother Angelica's vision. I agree with Virginia completely. This is why you and I, Jerry, go around the country trying to raise money for Catholic radio. It's so important to keep this education going.
It is. And Charlene, too, thank you for your patience. Charlene, you get our Patience Award today in Boston, listening to EWTN Radio on the Station of the Cross. Charlene, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Jerry. Hi, Debbie. Thank you so much for your shows with an S, but especially this one. I was listening to Teresa Tomeo show this morning, and my heart breaks for her and her family, and for David, who called in about he and his wife's situation. But on Teresa's show this morning, I didn't catch the whole thing, but I did we had a parking issue here, but I did hear the part toward the end where Dr. Ray was referencing there was a rift between her sister and her sister's daughter. Don't know the reason, but I do remember a couple of things that stuck in my mind from Dr. Ray, and he's so right. That he said, for God's sake, don't beat yourselves about this. My heart breaks for David and his wife because I'm going through the same thing myself, as a lot of us are. It destroys your peace. It destroys your joy. Joy is a hard thing to find through something like this, but it also can destroy your health. So for David, I just wanted to give he and his wife a little bit of hope here. Read some books on forgiveness. I'm reading 2 right now myself, How to Forgive Yourself and Others, from Father Iman Tobin. He's from Florida. Great little read, great book. It does talk about how this can hurt our health, and I'm a witness to that. And another one, Forgiveness, A Catholic Approach, which is an award-winning book by R. Scott Hurd, Catholic Approach on Forgiveness. So read books on forgiveness, and it helps you forgive all involved, which I'm having a hard time with, but I'm trying. And to invoke our children's patron saints. I've been doing that a lot lately. Luckily, one of them is our Blessed Mother. I'm a single parent with 2 daughters. One has been estranged from our family since 2010, which involved my youngest daughter, and put a rift between them as well. So I'm invoking the patron saints, guardian angels, and go to healing services for yourself, because it is all so very, very helpful. It has started to destroy my health, but I refuse to let it go any further. So I just wanted to give him some hope, and I will keep them in my prayers, as well as Teresa's family.
Right. Charlene, I'm so glad you shared what you shared, because exactly when you heard me ask David to email me, that was one of the first things that I was going to share, is to take care of your health, because it does. Emotional pain and feeling that eventually affects your health. I'm a living witness to that, and it's unfortunate. And I wish I could turn back the clock. I wish I didn't do it to myself. But at the time when you're caught up in that emotional pain and you're feeling so lost and you can't do anything and powerless, and you're praying round the clock, but you don't see anything happening quick enough, and it gets further and further away from you, it starts to eat inside of you. And if you've got a heart and you can feel things, it's going to start to eat away. And I agree with you 100%. We've got to get the resources, keep the prayer life ramped up, take care of ourselves, and also to really not allow the joy to be robbed from us, because we can only give that joy away. And I think sometimes when we're in so much pain, we give it away very easily. And so we got to take back that joy. And I'm glad you shared that, Charlene. And I pray that David and his wife are listening. You sound like a great lady. And I love the resources that you're using. And I especially love that you're calling on the patron saints and also the angels. That's near and dear to me. So thanks, Charlene.
I would just add, thanks for the reference, Charlene, to the angels and the saints, because in a perfect family, what parent, what sibling would not rush to the aid of another if there was a need of any kind? And we know that God is that way. God is the perfect Father. Jesus is our perfect brother. We have the Holy Spirit. We have the saints and the angels. And I know it took me many, many years, Debbie and Charlene, to see them as the advocates that they are, that when you call upon them, they will rush to your aid. It's not like they're going, well, let me check. God, is this your will that I help here? And no, it's just, it's like when the body, a physical body has an injury, everything in your healing power just rushes to that spot that needs the healing and the help. So, Charlene, great call. Thank you so very much, and may your day be blessed. On that note, we've got a couple more people we're going to try to get to here as we talk about life in an empty nest with your kids grown and out of the house. We're going to go to Worcester, Massachusetts, listening to EWTN Radio on Emmanuel Radio. Is it Oria? Can you help me with your name? I'm sorry.
It's Oria.
Oria, thank you. Beautiful name. And what's your take on this, Oria?
Well, my husband and I have been empty nesters now for a while, but we've been together 41 years now, and we had children at the age of 15. We had our first, and then by 18 we had 3 children. So what happened was, I think that because we had children so young, and raising these kids so young, being young ourselves, we really didn't take the time to devote the time that we needed to the kids. I mean, they were with us all the time, but I mean, when you're young, you really don't treasure certain phases in your life. I mean, I've always been going to the church, and I've had them baptized, and all that. And my husband and I are strong in the faith, and we don't, we go to the Catholic Church and everything. I've always been a Catholic, but I think we missed out. And plus, I've been feeling like, I at the time I didn't realize that it was a mortal sin to be with someone, sexual intercourse, without being married by the church. And of course, when I became pregnant, we tried to get married, but no one would marry us because I was 14 and he was 15. And so we didn't marry till like 15 years later or 14 years later, something like that, by the church. And am I going to be, I regret that, and I've asked God to forgive me, but is that something that's going to stick with me? I'm going to have to go to purgatory for that?
Let me tell you, Oria, there's only one way that will stick with you, and that is if you don't let it go. Because if the church ultimately, what's called convalidated your wedding, sometimes it's colloquially called blessed your marriage, then the ministers of the church saw everything to be in the right order. I don't know what the circumstances were, if you had to go to confession or whatever. That's all between you and God and the church. But my understanding, Debbie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if the church has convalidated the marriage, it's a sacramental marriage now, and it is a thing of the past. And I just think, Oria, you just need to have great peace and great joy, and let that particular burden that is on your conscience go. Debbie, I don't know if you know any differently than that.
No, I would agree with exactly what you're saying. And Oria, I would just suggest to develop a relationship with someone at your church, your pastor, a sister or deacon, somebody in lay leadership that you can talk to, just to continue this conversation, just to release some of that you're feeling. And I think that's important. So it's always good. I always believe that you should, when things are burdening us and weighing us down, especially in a spiritual way, it's important to talk, and to talk with a sound priest or deacon or sister or somebody so you can bounce things off of, and you can start to get a better perspective, and it would really help. It would really help release it. Let me share something with you, Oria. I could spend 24 hours a day in the offices of priests and deacons. I love it because it's great. It's great direction. It really gets you centered and makes you realize some of the things we worry about, we don't have to worry about. And then there's other things we maybe should pay special attention to. So I don't know if you can develop that, Oria, but I would make a couple phone calls to your parish and try to develop some of that support system around you, just to help you and have you have that peace. Can you do that?
Oh, yeah. And I minister to the prisoners. I've been doing that for 15 years. I sing in the chorus.
Good.
I belong to all kinds of committees in the church, so I'm really active with that. And I have a lot of support there as well. But I just never said to them, "Hey, listen, I'm feeling a little guilty the fact that I had these 3 kids and my husband and I weren't my husband and I were married at the time." But in a way, I think God says, "Okay, you stuck to the same person. You've never been with anyone else but this man,
right.
And we've kept it together 41 years." And strong going right now.
Right, so, and that's great. And I would share that with you're so close to the church. You're involved in ministry, so you can probably get access to a priest or deacon and say, "Hey, can you sit with me for a few minutes, Father or Deacon?" And I'm sure you'll be relieved of a lot of the maybe unnecessary guilt that you're carrying. So I pray that for you, and I know all our Take Two listeners will pray that for you as well. It sounds like you're very active in your church, and that is awesome, Oria. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, Oria, you are really blessed when you think about it, because there are so many people who go through the textbook Catholic marriage prep and the ceremony and the sacrament and the Mass, and something happens and they don't remain together for life. And that's, again, as always, it's not a judgment. It's between God and those to whom that happens. But even though you did it a little bit differently, God has blessed you and your husband and your family. Thanks, Oria, for being with us. Tomorrow, Debbie, are you a good listener? That's our topic.
What? I can't hear you.
Hello?
Hello. Yep, that's tomorrow's topic. And Carla, sorry we couldn't get to you. Please maybe call into tomorrow's show. We've already got comments coming in about today's show, so keep the conversation going on EWTN Catholic Radio Facebook. Don't forget to like us. Until then, Jerry and I want to wish you, what do we want to wish you?
A beautiful and blessed day.
See you tomorrow.